In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to recode an interval ratio variable into an ordinal level variable. I'm using the GSS 2006 dataset, and I'm going to start by taking a look at the two variables that I want to recode. So I'm going to go to my syntax editor by opening a new syntax editor. And I'm going to run a frequency distribution of the variable SPSS and the variable for education, which is educ. You can run both of these using the same command. Let's take a look at these two variables. Whenever you're recoding a variable, always make sure you start with a frequency distribution of the original variable so you can take a look at it and see what the range is, the floor of the variable, and the ceiling of the variable, but also how the distribution looks as well. So we can see here for number of brothers and sisters, this is the variable SPSS, that the vast majority of the respondents have between 0 and 6 siblings. And there are people that have 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to 34 siblings, but very, very few people, and it really trickles down at the bottom. So most people are going to be between those 0 and 6, 0 and 7. Okay, let's look at highest year of school completed. This particular variable is based on a survey question that asks respondents the number of years of school they've completed. So it's not their highest degree, it's the number of years they've been in school. And you can see that most people have at least a high school education, or roughly a high school education. And there are a few people that don't have formal years of school, but this group from 0 to 10, 11 is pretty small. And then there's a big jump at year 12, where we would imagine a typical high school graduation is. And then it goes all the way up to 20. Okay, so these are the variables that we're going to recode from interval ratio into ordinal. Let's start by doing the variable SPSS. Whenever you recode a variable, you always want to make sure you recode it into a new variable. So go to the transform menu and go down into recode into different variables. There is an option to recode into the same variables, but I recommend that you never use that. Okay, the first thing you want to do once you click transform and recode into a different variable is find your variable SPSS. Once it's highlighted, place it into the box using this blue arrow, and you're going to see a question mark pop up. That question mark is asking you to indicate the name of the variable for your new variable. We're just going to call it SPSS4 because we're going to make a 4-category ordinal variable. The next thing you want to do is click on the Old and New Values button. The left side of the dialog box will demonstrate all of the old values that you have, and they will be placed over here in this box. And the right side of the dialog box is where you identify your new values. So let's say you want to start by making only children the first value in your new variable for SPSS. So the old value of 0 would indicate somebody is an only child. So we're going to keep that as our new value as well. So only children are going to be only children in the new ordinal level as well. Once you have told SPSS that your old value is 0 and your new value is 0, you click add. And then we're going to do what we might consider a standard family. We're going to make a category for people who have 1 or 2 siblings. So we're going to use this range option, and we're going to say 1 through 2 siblings, and that's going to become a 1. So two values, 1 and 2, are going to be collapsed into this new value of 1. Click add. And then we're going to do a medium-sized family for people who have 3 or 4 siblings. So we're going to use the same range option to do 3 through 4. And we're going to make our new value 2. And then we're going to click the add button. So you can see the values so far of our new variable SIBS4 are 0, 1, and 2. This is going to be a 4-category ordinal variable. So we're going to do one more category. Let's do one for a large family. People who have 5 or more siblings. So that's a family with 6 children or more. So there's another range option we can use when we want to use a value through the highest, and that's this radio button right here. The range, the value through the highest. And so we're going to put 5 through the highest, and we're going to make the new value a 3, and then we're going to click add. The last thing you want to do is account for missing values. And so you're going to click system or user missing, this radio button, and you're going to make sure all of those are system missing. And then click add, click continue. And if you don't click change over here, which I did not do, that's why the question mark is still there. If you don't click that change button, SIBS4 won't appear right there. You can also give it a label if you want something descriptive so you remember it. Okay, let's go ahead and paste the syntax and run it. So we're going to go back to our syntax editor. You can see the recode. Okay, click run. And when you go to your output window, you're going to see there's not actual output. You only see this command that appeared down here in this yellow box that I've highlighted. And that's because you didn't actually ask SPSS for a model. So if you want to look at your variable, there's 2 ways to do it. The first one, which I always recommend doing no matter what, is to go back to your syntax editor, ask for a frequency distribution of your new variable, SIBS4. Make sure you ask for the new variable, not the old variable. Click run. And here's our new variable. And you can really easily check this. So you know that the category with only children is based on that first category of the old variable. So we have 145 people there. So you can go up and look here, it's 145 people. And then the next category, 1 or 2 siblings, and that would be 560 plus 605. So those two should combine to make value number 1, and they do. And so you can go through and check to make sure that you did this correctly. The other thing you can do, which is optional, but if you really want to make sure it's there, you can always go to your data window and then scroll all the way to the right. And you can see your brand new variable in the last column where you've created a new variable. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing for the variable education. So go to your transform menu, recode into different variables, and you're going to take out the old one. Make sure you always take out the old recode that you did. Okay, and then put your new variable in, which is educ. And I'm going to use the same logic here. We're going to call it educ4 because it's a 4-category education variable. Click change. Go to old and new values, and all of the old ones are in there. So go ahead and take those out. You can leave the missing in because you do want to account for missing in this recode as well. But we have some different rules for this variable, so we're going to set up the different rules to make sure all of the old rules are taken out. Okay, we're going to do a value for people who have less than a high school degree, and we're going to say if they have 0 through 11 years of school. So there's a range option that is the lowest through a value. So you can use that option right here and just put the number 11 in. And this is telling SPSS that the lowest value through 11 should all be 1 category. And we're going to make that a 0 for a new value. You click add. We're going to have another value for people who graduated high school. So if you are 12, you probably graduated high school if you have the value of 12. And we're going to make that a 1. Click add. And then we're going to do a value for people who have some college. So not quite what we would expect traditionally for a bachelor's degree, which is 16 years, but people who have some college. So we're going to say the range will be 13 through 15. And the new value will be 2. And you can add that. And then the last one will be people who have a college degree or more. And, you know, these are very rough, but it uses kind of a traditional scale. Okay, so we're going to do people who have 16 or more. So we're going to go the range value through highest option. And you're going to choose that and put 16. So 16 through the highest value is going to become a 3. And then click add and continue. Make sure everything looks right here. You can give it a label if you want to. Paste your syntax and run your syntax. And then the same thing happens. You go back to your output window and you can see the only output here is this command. So if you want to see the distribution, you actually have to ask SPSS for the frequency distribution. Don't forget to do that. Make sure you always check your work because it's really easy to make a really stupid error. And I do it myself sometimes, even though I know what I'm doing and I know the steps, but it just happens. So make sure you always check your work. So freq educ 4, we're running a frequency distribution of our new variable. Click run, and here we go. This is our new variable with 4 values. And we know that first value, 0, is everybody through 11 years of education. So we can go up here and see, okay, that's going to be 17.4% of the data. We go down and see that it's 17.4% here as well. And then this one is indicating people who graduated high school, 1,204. And so we can go up and look at the 12 in this original variable and see, okay, 1,204, everything looks right. And so we know that we did this correctly. Make sure you check all of the values so you don't have any silly errors. Now that you've recoded your variables from interval ratio into ordinal, you can use them in models where you need to have ordinal variables instead of interval ratio variables. For instance, now you can run a chi-square, or you can use the gamma measure of association. There are different ways you can use this variable now that you have recoded it from interval ratio into ordinal.